The strange things about the country known as the eighth continent, on the strangest island nation on the planet, located in the top of the world's poorest, are called Madagascar. Coming here, you will know what it is like to live in a place where people are so hungry that they have to eat wild tree roots and pieces of shoes. Clothes have no place to hang. Houses are crumbling. Walking into the market. But it is very strange looking at the children eating and dressing happily at home, and the children in Madagascar look so different. This is also a place where there is a custom of dancing with the dead. It is dug up once every 7 years. And also the prohibitions are very confusing, making it very easy for anyone who does not know to violate. What are you waiting for? Let's explore 8 strange facts that Madagascar doesn't want you to know. Overview of the 8th continent. Surely many of you here have rarely heard of the name Madagascar. This is an island country of East Africa, with an area of more than 587,000 square kilometers, the 4th largest in the world. The population is 29.6 million, which is only 36 people per square kilometer alone. At the same time, it is also the country ranks 11th in the ranking of the poorest countries in the world, with a GDP per capita of only 405 USD year. Do you dare to imagine when there is only 32 USD a month to live from A to Z? It is understandable when Madagascar owns the poorest capital in the world and uses the Madagascar Ariary currency. It is even more special when the island was born from the supercontinent Gondwana during the earthquake of the ancient Earth was destroyed. And it separated not from Africa as many people think, but from India. The soil in Madagascar is also red because it contains a lot of iron and aluminum. Moreover, only about 11% of the roads are paved with asphalt. The rest are dirt roads. Because of this, the fauna in Madagascar developed independently of the rest of the Earth, owning nearly 80% of the species that do not exist anywhere else on the planet. Really poor, but the price of one piece. The 3G phone SIM here is also nearly 40 USD. The cost of traveling is sometimes more expensive than in many European countries. A Vietnamese person shared that she spent 4,000 USD to travel to Madagascar. Specifically, what kind of life will be the richest country in the ranking from the bottom up? How the fate of children will be. Let's go to content 2. The poorest capital in the world. I have never seen a capital as poor as here. 70% of the population lives on less than $1 a day. Specifically, when you come to the capital Antananarivo, you will meet beggars and homeless people everywhere. Many families with large children have to find food sources from wild plants because they are not cooked, so eating them has a lot of stomach pain, diarrhea, and blood. Some people also have to ask for excess shoe skins, boil them, and eat them because they are too hungry. In fact, the country is experiencing level 5 hunger, that is, at the catastrophic level, when people have absolutely nothing left to eat. Many children have to pick up garbage to make a living, dropping out of school at a young age because they can only take care of food. You will always come across children who used to sell eggs, fish, and other items to earn money for food. Buying from one person and turning to look into the eyes of the other without buying them feels guilty. The children's clothes are tattered, their faces, noses, and limbs are dirty, looking back at our grandchildren who are well-fed and dressed beautifully, holding phones in their hands. Only then can I understand their suffering. But these children are just sitting on the ground alone. The prouder, the brighter the smiles on the children's lips. Even the market will look like this. Perhaps many people misunderstand that it is a pile of garbage. But if you look closely, there are sellers, and there are pairs of slippers that you know are the goods they sell. The crab is also strange. It has just been caught on the shore, so the crab body is still muddy, and the seller sells it directly. This weight is even higher when you buy crab with fabric straps. Even a food shop will not be able to require it to be beautiful. And the nail service is created by the hands of man craftsmen. Ah, this river looks so dirty, but they all bring their clothes to wash. When the water is finished, they pour it directly into the river, and after washing, there is no hook to hang it. Just put the clothes straight on the ground for the sun to dry. In general, looking around the riverbanks, there are countless garbage buffets, more than the Ganges River in India. If you imagine that people have to live in this situation, illness is also true. Then came the house, which looked temporary, and this was not too strange when setting foot on the Black Continent. And this is when people ask for food. Maybe their carefree begging culture is like that, but I find it difficult to understand. Of course, there will also be places where high-rise buildings and look much more modern than the rest of the land. But it is not difficult to encounter people who have to carry water from rivers and streams to use. That's how I appreciate my current life. Living in the world, how to escape the prohibition law, but banning as much as Madagascar. I saw it for the first time, and you are about to see it. The most outrageous prohibitions of the century. You and your friends note that these prohibitions are compiled from many different sources of information, with the desire to share strange and interesting things with everyone. Of course, not everywhere in Madagascar is prohibited like this, and not everyone complies with it. If there are any shortcomings, I hope the audience will give positive feedback to the top 10 The first was most controversial when Madagascar enacted a law targeting prostitution, which prohibits sex and contact with female prostitutes. I support. The next one is virtual, whereby pregnant women in Madagascar are prohibited from wearing hats. Why? Yes, I don't understand the reason. While the sun and rain without a hat cannot ensure women's health. And yet, expectant mothers in Madagascar are also often advised to stay away from funerals, a belief rooted in the thought that the soul of the deceased may feel a little bored and chapped and decide to stay with the fetus. Therefore, in order to give birth smoothly and not be disturbed by demons, even if a loved one dies, he should stay at home. Subsequently, Madagascar also forbids talking about death. Instead of saying that someone is dead, it can be said more culturally that person has gone to a vast rice field in the sky, talked to ancestors for a long time, or once a month or twice. Furthermore, you will not be able to bathe on some of the sacred rivers here, but do not feel hot and jump down, and then get hit by 100 bullet-shaped eyes. Even the killing of lemurs in Madagascar is banned because the animal is an unofficial national treasure. The Malagasy people consider them as sacred creatures, embodying the spirit of the island's ancient forests. In addition, the zebu cow is similar, hearing the Indian exhaustion. Not to mention that for the Malagasy, eels are also crossed out as it is often associated with ancestors or guardian spirits, and eating them is said to bring bad luck or anger the spirits. Another very Indian prohibition is the prohibition of giving or receiving things with the left hand, which is considered a serious misconduct. According to them, the left hand is not clean or unfavorable, and is only used for personal hygiene, such as ass washing. One thing that prohibits drowning out the beauty of men here is that the son is forbidden to shave until his father dies. If this father lives to be 100 years old, I wonder how long that beard is. Of course, there are still some places that break the rules. This is followed by the third day of restrictions. Accordingly, on Tuesday, you should not do important work. It is best to cancel it and start again on Wednesday. Because in the subconscious of the people of Madagascar, what to do on this special day will bring bad luck. It is like that Friday the 13th. In addition, in Madagascar, whistling at night is also not allowed. It is believed that it can summon spirits. Even crickets may have to stop chirping. Just now you saw that the taboo has a lot to do with the dead, but if you go to open the lid of the coffin and make the remains dance with you, it can only be Madagascar. Rituals with the dead. Step into Famadihana, also known as bone replacement in Madagascar. At the festival, the elderly will explain to their children and grandchildren the merits of their fathers who have laid down. Then, after digging the graves of family members, they picked up dry bone fragments from the remains and wrapped them in a new layer of cloth. Next, everyone will hug these cloth wrappers and dance. At this time, music will be played. Cattle are slaughtered to make a table and shared with each family member as well as a few guests. It is known that this demonic ritual began to form and become popular in the 17th century. Every 7 years, the grave of the deceased is dug up because, according to their conception, if the ashes have not completely decomposed, the dead will not disappear forever but can also communicate with the living. Only the flesh dissolves into the dust. After that, before the sun sets, the bones of the dead are carefully brought back to the grave along with gifts of money and wine, in the opposite way of head first, legs back, to close the cycle of life and death. It is generally quite expensive, as the family will have to prepare a lot of things, including hearty meals for guests and costumes for both the living and the dead. If not, because it would be blasphemous for a family not to hold the Famadihana when they can afford the expenses. After watching it, many people probably think that death is not peaceful. Strange, the tree is upside down, containing 120,000 liters of water. Baobab is a woody species of the rice family that lives on the famous boulevard in Madagascar, Africa. The reason why it is called upside-down trees is because they possess bare branches like roots reaching high into the sky. The rate of development is as slow as a snail. It takes a century to reach a circumference of almost 5 meters. Looking at the seedlings, it is clear that there is nothing special. However, when it grows up, the height can reach 30 meters, equivalent to a 10-story building, the width of a dozen hugs. The most wonderful is the extreme water retention ability thanks to the large, bulging trunk. Accordingly, it can store up to 120,000 liters of water, enough for the whole family to drink for half a year. The important thing is that the vitality is tougher than a leech. Even if you cut it down, the seeds that fall to the ground will find a way to live for themselves, continue to germinate, rise into seedlings, and can live for about 800 years. So it is a symbol of strong life. In a new position is Baobab Amuru. These are 2 giant baobab trees, which grow wrapped around each other like a pair of lovers. People believe that lovers, when they come here, will meet a lot of happiness as a couple, which is a hangout place for women who want to pray for children. And yet, it was also divided into 5 and 7, taking advantage of every centimeter. African people use the bark of the baobab tree to braid it into a rope. Leaves and fruits are used as soup food. This is its fruit, and to eat it, you need to use a little violence to smash it out and get the seeds inside to eat like this. It costs $2 per fruit. As for the body, it became a source of yarn, dye, and firewood. Even empty, rotten bodies will be turned into special houses. Many guys say that I don't look like the pictures in real life. Then meet these beautiful girls in Madagascar with the following face paint. I bet you won't recognize them. Admire the tribal women's face painting culture. Revealing to you, the inhabitants of Madagascar are obviously African but of Asian origin. Specifically, the Malagasy people are descendants of Indonesian and Malaysian migrants who are believed to have arrived in this land 2,000 years ago, making up a 50-50 ratio of the 2 ancestral groups, Indonesians and East Africans. In addition, both men and women in Madagascar share a rectangular cloth to wrap around the body called lamba, while most countries have traditional clothing dedicated to the 2 sexes. More specifically, the Sakalava women, who occupy the west coast of Madagascar, are characterized by curly hair and black skin. and have a very colorful custom of painting flowers on their faces. This beauty ritual, known as Mason Joni, has been practiced for centuries to protect their skin from the sun, presumably natural SPF. It simultaneously acts as a mask that removes imperfections, softens the skin, and repels insects. Besides, merengue is the most popular freestyle in Madagascar, for young people between the ages of 10 and 35 for both men and women. These fighters were called Kitabolahi, which became the honor of the whole people. Pirate Paradise. During the 17th and 18th centuries, the island nation of Madagascar was a haven for pirates because of its secluded fjords. They used to come here to repair ships and prepare food before launching an attack in the Indian Ocean, so they had a prosperous life on the island. It wasn't until the late 1700s that pirates left the island when the French seized the island by force and finally returned it to Madagascar in 1960. The clearest example is the cemetery on the island of Île Sainte-Marie, with about 30 tombstones, on which are depicted in the shape of skulls or crossbones, the international symbol of pirates. According to legend, the infamous William Kidd was buried in a large black tomb here. He had to sit up straight as a punishment for his cruel actions. In fact, he was buried in England, but his legendary ship, the Adventure Galley, was left near the island, and the loot was buried somewhere around. Finally, there is a culture and specialty that is rarely matched in Madagascar. Where cultural identity does not need to be preserved. Friends, there is rarely a country with few artificial landscapes like here. In other words, the people cannot afford to develop and renovate it. As a result, Madagascar creates countless opportunities for adventure. You can climb mountains by bicycle, explore crocodile caves, fly with parachutes, dive with sharks. From rafting in remote white waterfalls, surfing on dim rivers, or strolling on white sandy shores to strenuous mountain climbs. In short, there are plenty of choices. It is also home to over 200,000 species of wildlife, including more than 100 species of lemurs, including the chameleon, which is also native to Madagascar. It is more unique that the Madagascar cockroach is still kept as an ornament, while the cockroaches in our country want to let it die. Completely different from the animated Madagascar movie, this island nation has no lions, giraffes, hippos, and zebras. In return, there is the world's largest jumping rat with the ability to jump up to nearly 1 meter high. This country also owns strange pointed stone towers up to 120 meters high, creating a super magnificent landscape. In addition, due to economic difficulties, electricity only provides a fixed time frame of the day, so visitors have to heat up thanks to a mirror reflecting the sun. Poverty is real, but resources are off the table. Accordingly, this place is a place where many unprocessed minerals are concentrated, one of the largest titanium ore reserves in the world, and provides half the supply of high-quality sapphire. In terms of agriculture, Fennel is the world's leading country in the supply of vanilla, cloves, and yellow orchids. Not only Madagascar, the entire African continent is very rich in resources, but the people do not know the manufacturing technology, so the price is extremely cheap, all for Europe to benefit. Today's video is over. Thank you to the audience of Top 10 Mysteries for following up to this moment. Now goodbye, and see you in the next videos.
With